Now, what I want to do is come back specifically to what you presented here at the festival, which was, first of all, obviously you played the art harmonium very beautifully, but you also brought your very special instrument, the harmonicorde. And this was the instrument that was current in the 1850 period, correct? And who was buying these instruments?
Unfortunately, we don't have a kind of list or inventory of those instruments. You know that the Victor Mustel, he kept an inventory of the people who bought an art harmonium or whatever. But anyway, if you consider the instrument, it was a combination of a small piano and a harmonium. So it's obvious that it was very expensive.
Oh yes.
And so the buyers were la bourgeoisie, rich people, mostly people from Paris,
right,
who could afford it.
right.
It explains also why just small repertoire is written for especially this instrument.
Right.
But since it's proper harmonium, it's the classical French harmonium with some extra stops.
Right.
Of course, you can play the whole repertoire. That was the advantage.
Yeah.
And you have the little piano combined. I say little piano because it's not possible to play the piano repertoire on this little string instrument. You can play the harmonium repertoire entirely, and the piano gives this little plus, this little extra of the strings.
It gives it that little. I love the instrument because it's that, and it also has that little filigree of sound that you can add that gives it this beautiful sheen and spice and point. It's just a lovely instrument. I think it must be difficult to record it. Is it?
I think it was not more difficult than to record a harmonium. I mean, the instrument itself has a very nice balance, especially when it's placed against a wall. I mean, like every small piano, upright piano, pianino,
right.
The sound is best when it is placed against a wall. There's some distance, but then the sound comes in a quite convenient and convincing way. So the recording was not more difficult than a normal harmonium. I mean, the difficulty is always how to transmit the nuances in timbre of the different stops to the microphone.
Right.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
If you're too close, you miss the image. I mean, you miss the stereo image. If you're too far away, everything is confused and every stop sounds more or less the same. So that's a basic problem of recording the harmonium. But I don't think there were special problems with the harmonicorde.
Now, coming back to the use of the harmonicorde, you talk about a specialized repertoire that was conceived for it that's not very broad but is very fine. But the one piece of repertoire that is very significant for it is that it was the instrument used in the first performance of the Petite Messe Solennelle of Rossini. And nowadays, of course, people don't use this instrument. In fact, you won't have the only one that I know of that's extant that it works. Am I correct? Yet, it is a sound that is lost to modern listeners in terms of this piece, which is often taken on by massive choral groups with the pipe organ. And so, how do you feel about this evolution of this piece from that delicate chamber music texture to these massive performances?
Well, it's a very good question, and I will answer very sincerely, I think it's a very bad evolution.
Yeah.
The music is beautiful, of course, but it's still a difference to have it performed by, let's say, 12 singers, one or two pianos, but I prefer one piano, and then a genuine harmonium or harmonicorde, but harmonicorde is so so rare instrument. There's nowadays a tendency to recreate, reconstruct first performances.
Right.
Okay, it's interesting, but it doesn't mean that it's the most representative performance.
Right.
I mean, the first performance of the Petite Messe, and again, I have little problems with this Petite Messe. Everybody says Petite Messe, but the first edition says Messe solennelle. And Rossini wrote somewhere that Ma Petite Messe, and so we all say Petite Messe, but it's not a Petite Messe. It is Grande Messe solennelle, but just off the record. So the first performance was in this private house in Paris, where the owners of two pianos and the harmonicorde want to show off with their instruments.
Right.
It's clear. It's also clear from the composition. The second piano is just a doubling of the first
Yes.
piano. So I think the first tour of the Messe solennelle, and I hope I don't make a mistake, but as far as I know, the first tour of this Messe was with one piano and one harmonium.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's more interesting to reconstruct actually this situation. Rather than a big choir, two modern grand pianos, and a poor little harmonium which is unable to cope with these circumstances.
Yes, right.
So that's also the reason why in the early 90s we made a recording conducted by Christoph Spering, where we tried to have these situations, 12 singers, soloists out of the choir,
Mm-hmm.
To have the right balance, also to be able to use the correct tempi for the pieces. Because
Yeah.
if you have huge choirs,
You can't move.
no, it's not possible.
Yeah.
It's no longer flexible.
Yeah.
So from one side, it's of course it's good that this music has become popular,
Yeah.
but in some way it is transformed to something else, I think.
Well, it's wonderful that you preserve this instrument and that you have made these kind of recordings, because it establishes a certain keystone to where it probably began, roughly, and how far people want to take it away. They at least will know that that's where it.
I think that's important that we know what we are doing.
Yes.
The same thing with playing Bach on the modern piano.
Yeah.
There's nothing against that,
Yes,
of course.
right. Yeah.
But we should realize what was the origin,
Yeah.
especially if we are